Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our cup of tea with the vet. And we've got Fabian with us. Did you bring your cup of tea?
Oh, do you want me to go grab it now?
Well,
I'll
only
go
if
grab
you've
it.
got one. You
I
don't.
haven't
No,
got one right here.
no, don't worry, don't worry. Unfortunately, then it's just me with the tea today. So, but it's all fine. It's all fine. Don't worry. Fabian has been so busy and rushed, so hence we started a little bit late, but it's all good. So, Fabian, would you like to crack on and do your introduction? Because oh my God, you have got such a huge bio. It's amazing. You've achieved so much, and I'm really pleased to be talking to you. So, yes, tell us about yourself.
Thank you for being so gracious. To be honest with you, I feel like I've done bits and bobs, but no, it's been a very busy last 18 months. So I graduated 3 years ago, and that's gone incredibly quickly. And since then, I've just been busy trying to do so much. So I work in a practice in Birmingham, in south of Birmingham, and it's the same place I had my first job. It's an exotics and small animal clinic, and I've just been trying to keep myself busy. I'm also quite commonly known as Dready Vet, which I started a long time ago, but has been the last couple of years have built a little bit of notoriety, mainly because I am one of the 5 vets on the Vet Factor, which is a kids TV show, and that's been great. I'm also doing a certificate in exotics, which I should have the results very soon, so fingers crossed. And also, last year I won the BVA Young Vet of the Year award, which was a huge honour. I'm also the BVA recent grad rep, and I just write articles, and I've made videos and done lots of vlogs, and have a bit of a social media presence. And so yeah, I've just done a huge amount in 3 years, to be honest with you.
I think it's absolutely amazing. And, there's so many things to touch base on there. So one, definitely good luck with your exotics certificate. I really hope that that's gone well.
Thank you.
But also, I do have a massive variety of people that watch this show. Like there's vets, there's new grads, there's people that are training to be vets, there's owners, it's everybody. And so it's really nice to chat about every perspective because I have such a variety on the show, which I really love. So obviously you're probably one of the newer vets that have qualified, and so obviously because you're a representative also for new grads and stuff, like how have you found it since graduating? Because I think veterinary's changed a lot over the last 20 years, which is when I started a long time ago. So yeah, exactly. So like how have you found, being a graduate? Have you felt supported? Have you felt happy? Have you felt overwhelmed? How's the journey been for you?
I think I mean, one of my entrance into veterinary medicine obviously started with just getting experience in veterinary practices, and the way that you see things change as before you start veterinary medicine, and then when you become a vet student, and then when you become a vet has been quite a it's been the last 10 years really, if not a little bit more. So I feel like I've seen a snapshot of the complexion of things and how they've changed, over that period of time. I feel like initially my entrance into veterinary medicine as a vet was well managed, but I think in the last 3 years I've realised there's a certain level of intensity, and we're always talking about retention in veterinary medicine.
Yep.
Especially new grads, because of all the stresses, the inertia of the financial rewards, and a lot of the concern is about getting so much more out of new grads for less and less and less and less and less. And I feel like there is the same amount of passion for the new grads and the recent grads, but the sustained period of that passion tends to wane a little bit earlier than we want it to. So I personally have not lost any passion than I had on the first day, but I realized that I'm in a blessed position because I have the exotics, and one of the main reasons for me to get into veterinary medicine was variety, to be honest with you. Novelty is a huge motivator for me, and so going to work and seeing a macaw at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then seeing an owl, and then seeing a falcon, and then seeing a bearded dragon, and then seeing a snake, and then seeing a dog and a cat, and you know, my day never is the same clinically, and that is a really a passion of mine that I think helps me get around all the other mess, shall we say, of being a new grad and all the stresses that come with it. But I do recognize that I'm fortunate because I have a direction in that sense, and I'm also doing so many other things as well. And I like to learn all the time, and you know, different priorities for different people. You know, so my entrance into veterinary medicine has been very positive, but I also recognize that as soon as I became clinically very, you know, the kind of the most eminent or prominent member of my practice, I realized how quickly there's a huge amount of pressure that kind of comes with that. So I do recognize, and I hear it all the time from recent grads, actually. They reach out to me and say, this contract is not right, or I'm scared about this. I've got an exam, or I've got a surgery that I'm not comfortable with, or I don't feel I'm being handled very well. And I think it's such a shame that so many new grads are under what they feel is too much pressure to perform, or as we probably all feel, the pressures of getting things wrong and all the litigation that comes with that. So, you know, it isn't easy for us guys, but personally, I've been very, very lucky to fall into a job that is a dream job, to be honest with you.
It's really nice to hear you speak. And I have to say, while you've been speaking, we've got a lot of watchers, and also a lot of people have done the care sign and a lot of likes and stuff, which is really nice, that obviously people are listening to what you're saying. It's really nice that you've been so mindful and insightful of, you know, the situation for a variety of people, because it is different for everyone. But I think what I'm hearing is, you know, the advice to new grads is get some direction, and then you feel focused, and then you can sort of feel your happy place better. And that happy place is going to be different for everybody, isn't it? And you know, so yeah, I think that's really great talking that through. And it's lovely to have somebody with so much vision who's helping all the new grads as well. So yeah,
I just think the main thing is that the new grads are, as far as I'm concerned, the bread and butter of the veterinary community, and we always want to, you know, celebrate the specialists and the fellows, but I really feel that we need to not completely shift focus, but make sure that we're coming into veterinary medicine a safe, accessible place for everyone, because a diverse community in the broadest sense, from people from pathologists, from people who are from chronic disabilities, people who are, you know, women and men, and people from different racial backgrounds, the whole, you know, LGBTQ, the whole landscape has to be able to fit a variety of different molds. And the more people that we have and protect, the more adaptable we are to change. And, you know, I think that's where we need to put a little bit more effort into as a community, and you know, protecting people, because I think also one thing I've noticed is that people's priorities have changed. The way that we look at ourselves as vets, you know, we're no longer is a vet the only thing you do. You aren't a vet. Your vet is your job, it's your career, but you can also be, you know, into politics. You can also be into music, and you also can be into current affairs. And, you know, we want to make sure we're looking after our mental health. There's so much more to the people behind the title, and I'm quite proud of that. And I think we need to allow that to grow and continue to be cultivated.
Completely. And to everybody watching, this is why this guy has the British Veterinary Association Young Vet of the Year. So, you know, definitely well worth acknowledging that. So I want to get on to some of my questions and just find out more about you. So, like, what do you like to do in your spare time? So you've touched on having thoughts about, you know, other things, and you're not just a vet. That's not your identity. So, you know, what else do you do?
I'm so much. I love photography. That is probably one of my oldest passions. Recently, because of how busy things have been, it's been a little bit hard to keep up with that, but I love photography. I love the philosophy of photography, and it's something that back when I was at uni I would teach on the side to other people, which was really, really, you know, a nice balance for me. I love reading philosophy as well. Like, I love psychology. Wow. Yeah, I read the most depressing books. Anyone who's seen my library goes, wow, this is really boring. This is really boring. Wow. No fiction? I'm like, no. I love exercising. I think it's a really important balance. Yep. And you know, I love keeping up with football and rugby. I'm very much a sports person as well. So much. I love history as well. I just, there's so much that I do on a regular basis, because I think it's important to have a broad skill set. To be honest with you, it's very important to who I am as an individual, because I want to be able to reach a lot of people and be able to engage with as many people as possible about a variety of different things. And I think that is something that I hold myself to a high standard, shall we say. So lots of different things. I love reading, I love playing sports, I love exercising, and just meeting people like yourself. It's a pleasure.
Fantastic. That's great. Now I'm just going to click over because Thyra, who is my assistant, nobody's really met yet, but she's just jumped on and said, I've been really looking forward to this one, and everyone from CBBC gets the big thumbs up from my 5-year-old. So yes, so there you go. You've got fans. Which
That's
is
awesome.
Excellent. How did you get into the TV thing? Like, how did CBBC find you, or did you apply, or, you know, what was that?
Okay, so there's a little bit of context about my background, which is semi-related. Now, not everyone knows this, but there was a TV series maybe, wow, like 17 years ago, called Serious. It was like Serious Jungle, Serious Desert, and basically the idea was like there's 8 kids who go abroad and they suffer through, you know, some harshest conditions. And I was fortunate enough to be on the Serious Arctic TV show as a kid. So I had so I went to the Arctic for 3 weeks, and so I had a little bit of a entrance into the TV world. And I didn't do anything for a while after, but I was very keen to cultivate and kind of media skills, to be honest with you, because I understood the reach that it could have. So I would do things like vlogs and write things, and I went to the WVS, the Worldwide Veterinary Service. I went on a course and I vlogged it basically. I did some media work for them, and then I graduated. And during my time as a student, I'd actually been approached several times by different companies, because my tag name's Dre Vet, but I was a vet student back then, and they reached out to me. A couple of different companies reached out to me and said, "Are you practicing yet? And what's your situation?" And I would just say to them, "Look, I'm a student. I can't present myself as a vet, but you know, keep me in your books, yada 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 yada." Anyway, Pet Factor started when I was maybe my 5th or 6th year as a student, and I thought it was great. It was a really, really lovely, rounded balance for kids to learn about animals and then what vets do. And I, via social media, because I had a slightly growing, following, shall we say, and I connected with James and Kat and Rory and Cheryl as well, just because, you know, veterinary community is very small.
Yeah.
And then I think in just the start of the 5th season, they would ask kind of James and Kat, you know, we're looking to have another vet, and you know, do you know anyone? And by that time, I'd now graduated. I'd only been working for a year, and James and Kat in particular, as far as the story goes, by the producers, they recommended me and say, look, you know, you've got to talk to Fabian and see if he's up for it. You know, we think he'd be the type of person you'd want. He's into exotics and so on. And they reached out to me. We had a conversation. We did like a trial shift. And I remember the trial shift, shall we say, that we had these 2 very brummy kids. Very, hello, Fabian, how are you today? I've got 2 rabbits here. You know, like the most brummy you could get. And it was, we had basically had a great time. It was just like sexing rabbits, basically. But it went really well. And then a week later or 2 weeks later, they said to me, look, we'd love to have you on, and we'd like to be the new vet. And that's kind of how it all went, to be honest with you. I didn't apply for it. It was just more of a collaborative to see if it would work between, you know, both of us.
Well done. No, that's fantastic. And I think, yeah, TV stuff, most of it is actually like who you know and that they find you. 100%. And I think that's the best way anyway. So, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you don't sound like you're from Birmingham. So how did you end up in Birmingham?
I'm born and bred guardian of Birmingham. It's my mom. My mom was very clear that I should have a certain received pronunciation accent, not P accent. And so it's simmered down. I have twangs, especially when I'm like at a football match.
You have them then.
There you go, twangs. So there's bits that come out here and then. But yeah, I'm born and bred. And where are you from? Are you from London? Like, but also because I studied abroad, which is again something I didn't say earlier. I studied abroad in the Czech Republic for 6 years. Every time I used my Brummie accent, people would just stare at me because most of my cohort were not British. You know, so you know, when you've got Swedes and Norwegians and Greeks and Italians and Israelis talking to you, and you're slurring your words and you've got that Brummie intonation to it, they just go, huh? Don't know what you're saying, and somehow they all understand each other, but they didn't understand the British person, so I had to work with it a little bit.
Oh, well done you. And actually, to be fair, it's not something I haven't heard of before, because actually my husband's dad is also from Birmingham. I mean, I think everybody knows a lot of people from Birmingham, whether they admit it or not, it's a different thing. Yeah, he is exactly the same. His parents said exactly the same, that he had to not have the accent. And he now lives in Torquay, so they have moved anyway, but that's because he found a wife that was from Torquay and she was never going to leave. So it's really interesting, isn't it? So just to touch on that, did you do your veterinary in, what did you just say, Czechoslovakia?
The Czech Republic. So
Czech Republic.
Yeah, it was basically my entrance into veterinary medicine was, I had an offer in the UK, but it was like a roundabout route. It was at the time when it went from £3,000 to £9,000. And so that year where the £3,000 was going in, the veterinary medicine, even for veterinary medicine standards, was oversubscribed. And so I was on the cusp. I had obviously applied for 3 rejections straight off the bat. And I had one that basically I was in like a 0.2% of undecided. And so for that fraction, they'd come up with some kind of halfway house where if you did a certain course and got a certain classification, that you would have a surefire way into the course at that particular point. So it was a kind of roundabout way. And then I thought about it, and it was something that I was going to commit to. And then I had a friend who was a dentist, a dental student who was studying out in the Czech Republic. And I found out about this course because I just wanted to see what other options out there. So I looked at the US, I looked at Canada, I was just looking everywhere to see Australia, to see what options were available to me, because the doors have really opened. And I looked at the Czech Republic. Now, my uncle's wife used to live in that city. And so I reached out to her, had a conversation with her about the city. And I think at that point, the pieces of the puzzle started to come together, that actually, as long as veterinary medicine is veterinary medicine, it's universal, and it's very much about your commitment to wanting to learn. Like, yes, you do exams and things like that, but you never stop learning. Yeah, and I thought to myself, this is a very good uni. They have a great exotics and small animals background, and it's a new experience for me. I'd be 2 hours away from Prague, an hour and a half ish away from Vienna, and I've never done anything in a straight line. It's been graft for such a long time to get to veterinary medicine. Then why would this opportunity be any different? So I studied out there for 6 years, and yeah, the rest is history, really.
Oh, well done. No, I mean, the reason why I picked up on it as well is because there's a lot of people in the UK that are saying that veterinary is absolutely unachievable because of the cost. And it is well known, well, that some countries are cheaper than others, and it is a route in. And I think that it's well worth acknowledging, because not everybody's got all the money in the world, and that doesn't make you, not right for the job. It just comes down to finance. So it's a bit scary to go off and change country. I mean, that's well done. I do think that takes some serious braveness.
Thank you. It's just I think what's most important is that when I went, it was actually cheaper to be in the UK.
Oh,
but that's the actual course. But when it went to £9,000, then it was cheaper to be out there. But that is just the price of the course. You have to think about living costs. You have to think about bills, and that at the time and now is so much cheaper out there than it is here. And so at the time of me going over, it was very much comparable to what I was going to be having here, but the living standards were through the roof. And so I didn't really have a typical undergrad student life, in the sense that for my 6 years of study, I didn't share with anyone. I had my own flat the whole entire time. And so I was able to do that with a degree of comfort. And that was an experience for me. I was out there. I was taking on the responsibility of bills and all the things that you may not do initially so much in the UK. And it's very much a moment, an opportunity to move out. You really move out. You really have to become your own person. And in that sense, it was necessarily just not only just studying, just being out there was very much, almost not a sink or swim, but it was very much, this is the opportunity for you to be an adult and grow and learn about responsibility. Because if things go wrong, you're in a different country. You don't have a backup plan. You can't take your laundry to mom's every 2 weeks. That is the experience. And I think it was probably the making of me to go out of there, to be honest with you. I think initially, there was a certain amount of trepidation about doing something that different. And at the time, I was one of 2 British people in the whole university anyway. It was all taught in English, but it really feels like the making of me, because I had to step up in a way that I may have not done if I'd stayed in the UK.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's really great. And that's really positive to have such a positive experience. And it's unbelievable they teach it all in English. But well done them. So Claire, who's one of my clients, has jumped on, and she is going to ask you a question. So this is a vetty question. Hi, Claire. So Claire says, hi, my dog had a Librela jab on Tuesday and has a bad tummy. 3 cow pats in the garden. He seems okay in himself. He still has an appetite, etc. Is this a usual side effect?
For me, with regards to, Librela is something very new, first and foremost, and I've seen such positive responses to it. I haven't notably seen any signs of any bad tummy as a result, and I think it'd be worthwhile to if you feel that way inclined, to obviously go to your vet to have a further conversation about what other things could have triggered that in the response. It is not typical. And the way that it works wouldn't necessarily necessitate that particular response. However, I think everything has to be taken into context. Personally, I've been handing out Librela to every animal with osteoarthritis, and not one has had that particular response. So take a step back, take a deep breath, and try and go through some of the other more common things. Common things happen commonly for a reason, and review things. And if you still feel unsure, go to your vet and have a discussion there. But personally, from what I've seen, no.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Fabian. That's very kind of you to answer that question. There you go, Claire. We'll probably chat again in a few weeks' time. She's just having loads of photos today. She's just had the coolest photo shoot with her dog, and it's just like, oh, you're so cute, so cute. So you said obviously you've got a keen interest in exotics. What pets do you have, or are you one of these people with no pets? You work with them all day.
No, I I originally entered my practice with a dog, which I adopted when I came back to the UK. And now I have 4 different animals that I would regard as family members. 3 of them have obviously come through exotics practice, 2 billy dragons and a red-footed tortoise. And yes, all lovely, all such characters, to be honest with you. I think I always find it funny that we see certain animals, you know, like your lizards and your, you know, tortoises as just being kind of, they are a breed and they are a species, but they, even when they're so close, they have such clear characteristics and personalities. So you know, they're all very different, and you know, yeah, I have 3 reptiles, and they're lovely.
Oh, that's lovely. So just to say, Claire also says thank you. So thank you for that. And my mum's just jumped on as well, and she
Hi,
said, she says, just what I was thinking. It doesn't matter where you train, you just have to make the most of the opportunity, which is
100%.
completely right. Exactly. I'll make sure I flash that up. There you go. Thanks, Mum. It's a very good point. Got to make
Thanks, Mom.
So, what of being a vet still grosses you out? Because there's got to be something that's disgusting in your mind.
I think I'm trying to think, because I have experienced. I'm one of those people that doesn't mind horrible smells.
Wow.
It's weird because I've been able. When I'm focused on something, I almost don't smell things, or I don't interpret it the same way. So I'm trying to think of what else grosses me out. This is
strong. I was to say, if you actually have a strong stomach, that is quite impressive. That makes you that's like doubled your value.
Honestly, and you know what? Some of the things that you get through an exotics practice is horrible. I remember. Okay, this isn't grossing me out, but in hindsight, probably should have. I had a Argentinian black and white tegu, which is this almost Jurassic-looking lizard. You know, it's probably about 1 meter in length, very wide mouth, and they're usually lovely. And it came to my practice just to have a blood test and check over if it wasn't hypocalcemic, which is very common in lizards. And it decided to poo. Now these animals, I can't tell you the type of horribleness they can manage and eat. Rotting carcass and you know, all sorts of putrid fruits. You name it, these guys will eat it. You know, old eggs, anything, they'll eat it. And what you find is reptiles will, when they're a little bit stressed out, will pass at the other end. Probably because what comes out the other end is so disgusting that you would never want to be near a reptile ever again. And I remember distinctly that when it passed this very large stool, I think 2 days later, you could still smell a little drop of it that had managed to escape its container. And we were looking around the whole practice because we cleaned everything and we could still smell it. So I think I'm not grossed out about anything, but if I was, I probably couldn't do half the things that I'm asked to do on a daily basis. It's ironic. I'm actually given the title of Mr. Butt because I give everything an enema. I flush everything out. Where there's a tube and where there's lube and saline, that's kind of where I'm at. And people find it hilarious because I'm like, give it an enema, let's see what happens. So I'm quite good with that type of thing.
Wow, and that's quite an addition. Oh yeah. Okay. Wow, that's some food for thought there. Blimey, your poor animals. But it's true. It is true, and especially reptiles. I know how much they feel better. Like the tortoises feel better after a nice warm bath. I mean, God, and they do suck up a lot of fluid that way. So
yes.
Oh, that's lovely. So, if time and money was no object, what would your dream goal be?
This is going to be the most irritating answer you ever get about this, but the way I see things and my mantra for things is that I've already achieved everything I wanted to do.
Oh, well completely done.
And the way I see it is that everything from now is a bonus. The only ever objectives I had in my life was to be a vet and ideally, work with exotics a little bit. That was the bar. And by having that very low expectation approach to life, everything feels like a bonus now. And if the door closes, I don't feel hard done by it. So if money was no object, I think the only thing I would like to do is to help further educate people on how to look after so many different animals, to look after the wildlife we have around us, and just put into work into educating people on the greatness of nature, to be honest with you. But it's personally, as an individual, I can't ask for any more, to be honest with you. I've done it all as far as I'm concerned.
Well done, but you're David Attenborough in the making, if possible.
That'd be nice.
No, that's really lovely. It's really lovely, and it's a really it's a very Buddhist mindset, isn't it? That's really great. It's very calm, and yeah, I think I have a lot of respect for that. That's really good. So well done. So tell me a bit about your team at work. Like, who helps you out? How's it going? Who's helping you achieve all that you want to achieve, even though you've achieved it already?
Every member of our team, especially in the kind of the light of the pandemic and COVID and everything, they've worked so hard, and I'm so impressed with all of them in such a variety of different ways. It's been a real team effort, and that's one of the things that I love about my practice so much, is that we're very fluid in the roles that we take, and there's a huge amount of delegation and communication and collaboration on certain things. And it's been really nice to see how we pulled together at a point when it's been so difficult for so many teams, with the furlough and lack of security for so many people out there. One of the ethos has been all of us have a part to play, doing X, Y, and Z. And I think my job, and I take this responsibility very seriously, is trying to use what I learn and educate, as many other people in the practice as the type of things that I'm interested in, and vice versa. As a new grad, as a recent grad, as someone who's been doing this only for 3 years, I think it's so important to listen to your nurses, listen to your techs, listen to the specialists, listen to people to refer, and keep your mind as open as possible, because they have the real gems that you'll often miss as a new grad vet, to be honest with you. And I've learned so much from all of them. So it's just been really, really positive to keep the doors open and keep that open for them, and that's it.
That's excellent and great advice. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So yes, well done for learning that already.
Yeah.
So that leads very nicely on to my next question. What do you love about physio?
I love physio mainly because of how much it can do for, especially the mammals that I've seen, guinea pigs, rabbits. I've had such positive results from such a quote unquote grave prognosis. And I think when you see, especially, like I said, the mammals with nerve damage or osteoarthritis or, so many conditions which causes them to freeze, because they often are the big wimps of the three, whether it's reptiles and birds. I would say that the biggest wimps are the small mammals, unfortunately. No offense to anyone who's got a rabbit or a guinea pig at home, or a chinchilla. The worst. The chinchillas are the worst. But I have found so much positivity through basics, and I love the fact that physiotherapy is a labor of love. It is a labor of commitment. It is a desire for things to get better without being too upset about the instant responses. And I'm very much I feel like naturally I'm more of an internalist. I'm more of a person who wants to see gradual improvement and see, and bring as many different factors into that. And I think physiotherapy marries all the best things about my job as an internalist or a specialist or whatever, and helps bring that level of holistic way of approaching pain or osteoarthritis or joint issues or nerve issues, and puts that into a discipline that can have such positive effects. I remember one particular rabbit that had been referred from another practice because it just lost use of its back leg, and there was a suggestion that it maybe had kicked out and managed to partially damage its sciatic nerve, basically, and so it lost some of its use in its back left leg or right leg, I can't remember which one. And so I did all my research and spoke to a variety of different physiotherapists. I spoke to a couple of rabbit specialists, and we kind of came up with a game plan with, first of all, is ruling out chronic or acute pain, and so we had to see what the results were. And there was not much difference, to be honest with you. And it's always very important to make sure in these animals which don't like to show signs that they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Once we had ascertained the base level of, right, no change, still happy, it's eating, they're big wusses, but it's still eating, still happy, let's try physiotherapy. And it was very much trying to put together as many different minds as possible to create something that was going to be balanced, effective, and hopefully see some returns. And so I had this rabbit, twice a day. I want the rabbit to be at the bottom of your lap and climbing up, and then bring it back down and climbing up, and I'd like you to use food as a way to kind of jump over hurdles, and don't overdo it, because remember, we have osteoarthritis and da. The point is that 8 months after we started that, we started to really see some improvement. Now, it wasn't completely back, and as you'll be fully aware, nerve damage can be a pain in the backside, for lack of better words. But it was great to see that the owner's expectations, which we'd managed, we basically told them that potentially nothing could change after all this work. But 8 months down the line, bless her, she came back in and said, we're finally making what I feel is headway. And I watched some videos about when this started, and I'm watching videos now. And actually, although it's not what it originally was, we are able to live a happy, fulfilled life, and that's down to the commitment. And bless her, she just said it was because of you. And I said, no, it's not. It's really due to your commitment. It's really due to your perseverance. All I did was do the workup. And I think I look back to that one as a great sign of the benefits of physiotherapy. But again, I know I do small animals, and in reptiles a little bit more difficult, because depending on what you see, again, you are very much trying things on the fly. How does physiotherapy work in an iguana? Who knows? We don't know. We don't even know if half the pain relief protocols are even correct, to be honest with you. So it's a great field, and because it brings that slow, patient, honest approach, and we're trying something. And I love the fact that it's a collaborative approach, and it's important for us as clinicians, wherever we stand in the veterinary community, to be committed to that. And that rabbit one is that rabbit case is something that I will remember for a very long time.
No, that's excellent. Thank you very much. It was a very, very good answer. And I definitely love the fact that you've mentioned about the exotics and the rabbits. I treat an awful lot of rabbits. I had one today. And I've actually got one client who's so committed that she's basically brought me all of her rabbits at various times because of various things. And I've had paralysis and all that sort of thing. And actually, one of my videos on YouTube has got like 3,500 views already. I'm like, what? But it's because it was one of my rabbits who came paralyzed, and then like 8 weeks later was walking again. So obviously it's not going to be the case for every single case, but I was just like, yay, have a little party. So yeah, absolutely. And from the reptile perspective as well, because I do actually have a course for other physios to teach them how to do physio on other species. It is really important. And yeah, it is a very complex thing. Obviously, not every reptile is going to be possible, but there are so many things that you can do, like your laser therapy and stuff, that it's, you know, you can work ways around it for every species. You just got to think hard. And like you, that's what I like, is that journey of thought, and really investigating the species individually and work out what you can and can't do, and all that sort of thing. And equally, there's no point in working on a leg that could just fall off anyway, and then they grow another one back.
Exactly. Exactly. It's something that is not fly on the wall, and we, you know, a lot of exotics, as everyone should know, is extrapolation. And so, and the beauty of animals as an umbrella is that a lot of the basics of physiology are similar, and so you use that as a platform for escalating. And you look into the new modalities, and you know what I love about exotics is that there's so much space for new suggestions, new approaches, and you know, if it works, brilliant. And then you trial and error, and that's just the best part for me. So, you know, with the reptiles, with the birds, you know, all of it is extrapolation, and the basics of as you know, I'm sure you'll be hopefully agree and attest to, is that physiotherapy, the basics are applicable across the board.
Oh, totally.
Exactly.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. It's you just have to learn the more intricacies, and then you move around for those things. And what I love about physio, the exotic stuff, is that there are those intricacies, but you've got to learn them, and then it's just so interesting. I mean, the difference between a bird and a normal mammal is just huge. And but once you've learned it, it's like, well, then now you've got your little birdie umbrella, and it's great. So yeah, I do love it. So I'm going to jump back to my questions, because my mum's been back on. She's gone to your philosophical side, and she's asked, do you believe in nature over nurture?
Ooh, good question. I think there is no, again, it's almost a politician's answer. There's no uniform way to approach that. I think what is important is that you find a happy medium where it's necessary, and that's really more about your moral dispositions and your compass, your moral compass, about where you intervene, how you intervene, and what is the bigger picture. I often say to people, just because we can doesn't mean we should. And I think it's so important to, as a medic, to see things not only through a clinical lens or an academic lens, but also through the animal that's in front of you. And so we're always striking this balance between the quality and what we're trying to get as a result of that case, and the clinical capacity to be able to do things, and that is always the balance that I'm striking up on a daily basis. So I can't really give you an answer. What I would say is that we shouldn't be turning a blind eye to either of those, depending on the case.
Absolutely. I'm always saying it really does depend on your case individually. Every single situation is so unique. And obviously, I mean, the biggest one that comes into a conversation with nature over nurture is always behavior, isn't it? And, you know, and there's so many factors involved that actually I don't think you can really even ever know whether one or the other is truly involved, because nurture starts from, well, in the womb ultimately. So it's, you know, it's really, well, nurture starts there. I don't know. Anyway, it's it's definitely really complicated, and I definitely agree. I think absolutely everything should be on a case by case basis anyway. There should be no blanket. So that's great. And Wendy has said, love your answer. There you go. So
thanks, Wendy.
So if you could have one of these little chats, these little Facebook lives, with anyone, who would it be, dead or alive?
With regards to physiotherapy, or just anyone?
Anything, absolutely anything.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna make it soppy, because she's the only person that I ever really was like motivation inspired. It was my mom, to be honest with you. Yeah, I you know, at so many different times to get into veterinary medicine, and during veterinary medicine, and now, she was very much a person that was so pivotal in every step of the way at points when it was so difficult to motivate myself. And so, I give her the highest credence and awards. So, the first person that I would have on that list is my mum.
Well, that's really lovely. Well done, Fabian's mum. That's a good accolade to get. That's really great. So what's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?
Ooh, okay. My mom's going to kill me now. I once jumped out of a plane in South Africa when I was basically doing a course. Well, not a course. I was doing an 8 weeks volunteering with South African penguins. And so I had 2 days off and a week off, which were very random. And so I was staying at a place where my food was covered, and I was staying with a guy who was a photographer, a Dutch photographer. And one day we just were looking at some of the excursions, and we just decided that we would jump out of a plane. The thing is with South Africa is that the legislation, at least back then, was very fluid, very open to interpretation. And so okay. It was I would even go as far as say sketchy, because the height that we jumped from technically probably wasn't the safest. It was a little bit high, and the types of, I remember we jumped out and I had control, and it was a whole, in hindsight, I would never do anything that, I'm trying to find the right word. I would never do anything crazy, unsafe ever again. But at the time, it was like the greatest thing ever, and I really, really enjoyed it. But in hindsight, I think to myself, you were really stupid that day, weren't you? Yeah, you should have thought about that. But I was 17. I'm not even sure that was safe, to be honest. But yeah, that's definitely up there.
Wow, that's amazing. I have to say though, you can bungee jump in this country at 14. That shocked me. I thought you'd have to be an adult at least to be doing a bungee jump. That kind of means your parents got to sign you off.
Yeah.
You go. That's mad, isn't it? Oh well done. That's absolutely amazing. That's very cool. So tell us something that nobody would know about you. And I know you already mentioned something earlier, so I feel like I'm being mean asking you twice.
Oh, because that was my one. No one knows about me. Oh, okay, it's a good one. Not no one knows, but very little. When I was a kid, I got a scholarship to be in the Birmingham Royal Ballet. That's a good one.
Wow. See, that's why I like asking that question. That would never have come out in normal life at all. That's so cool. So you do ballet?
I used to. I you know what? I regret, because I had this scholarship and I did it until I was say 14. And being a typical boy at 14, I don't want to do ballet. I want to play football and play rugby. And so I gave up. And in hindsight, everything was out on the plate because the lessons were free. The idea was that you would develop until you were 15, 16. The whole thing was but I want to play football. I don't want to do ballet. But it was a very cool experience, and a little bit different.
Your mum will have been disappointed at that moment, I'm sure. Billy Elliot has a lot to answer for. So, why don't you go back now?
I don't know, because I could start learning again. It's just I'm doing so much. There's so much on my plate right now that I think the moment was great, and the time has gone, and I'm okay with that, to be honest with you. But the kind of, I still have been to watch the ballet and several times, and I still find it as exciting and just a great experience, and I recommend it to anyone, to be honest with you. But that time's gone, and you see some of the ballet dancers now, and they're machines. They're absolute machines. Their legs are about this wide,
I agree,
pure muscle. I'm about as flexible as a bench at the moment. So I don't think it's time for me to go back. I don't think anyone wants to see that. But that was a great experience.
I'm going to disagree. So Claire has said, wow, a ballet dancing vet. That is so cool. There you go. That speaks volumes. And also I disagree, because I just think that those sorts of sports are just so cool. And I do gymnastics still at my age. Yeah. And I'm 40. I'm quite proud of that. So, and I am still tumbling and all sorts of cool stuff. And so to me, age is no limit, and because I just don't think it can be. And so I agree, I understand completely about flexibility. I am stiff as a board these days. But it is impressive what you can still do, even though you're stiff as a board. So you may not be able to flip anymore, but I just think it's very cool, and I think it's a lot of fun, and it's just amazing what those people can do with their bodies. So it's impressive, isn't it? So
it's out of this world.
Yeah, but I do know what you mean about their legs. They're almost like rectangles, aren't they? It's weird. At the knee, it kind of goes.
I'm a tall chap. I think I would have to be living in the gym for a whole year physically to even get close to that. So all props to them, to be honest with you.
You don't have to compete with them, Go back to your Buddhism and just go, no, I'm okay with being whatever I can achieve. It's only yourself. Exactly. Exactly. That's very cool. So, you've told us so many cool things. Okay, definitely got to ask you this. What's the weirdest dream you've ever had? I feel like you're bound to have had a very cool wonky dream.
This is the dream I tell people because it is so strange, and you're gonna have to buckle up because it would be like I would have taken something to be able to have this dream. So the dream starts with a circular sink, and you're kind of facing exactly straight down into the plug hole, and it's one of those taps, which is like this kind of U-bend taps, right? Like the one that kind of moves left and right. And so you're facing straight down at the plug hole, which is in the middle. And then out of nowhere, a 2p coin is dropped into this sink. And there's kind of, it's like not the helter-skelters, but you remember you used to put a coin into those machines that just go round and round and round. So this 2p coin defies gravity and is going around the edges of this sink faster and faster and faster. And it finally gets to the plug hole and then perfectly fits in and slides down. Then the view changes. Now I'm in a white room, and in front of me is in front of this door, which is where this coin comes down. It's a completely white room, and there is an old Mac computer which is completely white. Remember the ones that was like the CRT screens? It was very much like a big chunky screen, and it was the whole computer was in the screen. So it's a completely white one, and then it's almost in this, what they called, it was a Thunderbirds. Remember Thunderbirds, how it was very much, so some aliens start coming out around the sides, and they're like Thunderbirds, and they're walking in, and the coin comes down, hits the bottom, and then they start all panicking. I have no idea why. And then the room starts filling with water, and so they're panicking in this really weird white room, and they're panicking. And the coin starts to lift, kind of float on the top. And it goes back into this door, lifts back up. And then you go back to the view of the sink. And then the sink's filling up with water. And this coin is floating on top. And that is the weirdest dream. And I remember it so well because I remember waking up and I actually wrote it down because I was so confused about what had just happened. And I like to write dreams down every now and then, and sometimes I go back to them. I just think to myself, what did I have before bed to push me into that level of confusion? So that's probably the weirdest one.
Has anyone ever tried to interpret it yet? Have you ever had like a friend?
No, I don't want it interpreted because I think they'd probably take me to a place that I'd rather be away from, to be honest. So I just do not. I tell people at events where I'm ready to be safe and I have the Uber the Uber app ready to go. So yeah, no, not yet. I don't think I want to.
Oh, bless. Well, that's fair enough. Okay, well let's do a shout out. If anybody's watching who can interpret it, if it's good, tell us. If it's not good, just keep it to yourself.
Please. Don't want to know.
I think that's absolutely brilliant. I love that you remember your dreams so vividly. So last thing I want to ask is, what is your top tip for dealing with pain?
Multimodal.
Yep.
That's just the first thing. And prevention is better than response.
Yep.
And that is something that's really important to me because particularly in exotics practice, we're not, because we don't know what works so well, when we're not very good at being preventative. A lot of the things that we were using for big ops have been found to not work. So prevention before response. And I think, I'm trying to think of another good one. You know what? I think that works. I think those two work. I think those are really, really, really good ones. I'm trying to think of another one which is very specific, but yeah, I'll go with those two. I know it's just one, but those are two.
Exactly. You've given us a bonus, and that is really good. Definitely prevention is better than fixing it up later. No two ways about it. And yes, multimodal, getting multiple people involved is always the best answer. And, mixy matchy, pick a mix is great at the cinema and on your pain control. So, Fabian, thank you so much. You have been an absolute superstar. It has been a real pleasure talking to you. I've really enjoyed it. It's been great getting to know you, and I can see why you won that award. I can see why you're on CBBC, it's obviously great to see all your passion. And yeah, well done. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody who's been watching, and see you in a couple of weeks with my next cup of tea with a vet.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.